Welcome to Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast. From ghosts, UFOs, Dogman, medical miracles, and other strange encounters of the unknown. Every Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m. live, Facebook and YouTube. Here's the elusive big guy himself, your host, Dave Weiger.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast. I just want to get a quick announcement out there. Yesterday, I had some surgery done, so I apologize to everyone if I I had surgery on my nose, arthroscopic, and I may talk a little rough. I may need to blow my nose at times, but I hope not. But anyway, we have a great guest tonight, and he's also a friend of mine. And the reason I put up the USS Constellation is because Jim did an investigation on there, as well as myself, several times, and I got excellent results from that investigation a number of times. So I don't have his bio up. I put it in the Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast room, and of course Jim he'll tell you a little bit about himself. So let's not waste any time, and let me go bring Jim in.
We live?
We're live. Let me just get you. I'm sorry. Let me just get you up there. Let's see. I'm going to straighten out the. Oh wow! What? Whoops. Okay, so should be bigger than that. Let me. Oh, why is that not? Okay, so it's not that. Let me I want to try to get you up there next to me, but I got you there, but you're in a small block, and I'm just okay. Now I'm small. Now I'm smaller. Okay, yeah, that's good. Let me go ahead and start the chat room, and then we'll get started here. Okay. There we go. All right, Jim. Let's start off by you telling the guests a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a 28-year career Maryland law enforcement officer. I've seen a lot of strange things in my 28 years that I can't explain. But also, I'm also the founder and chief investigator of the Paranormal Research and Investigation Society of Maryland. We started basically at 1978. It's a bunch of kids growing up in Catonsville, which is a suburb of Baltimore. We used to go around to a lot of abandoned locations and try to scare one another. If you ever watched the old cartoon show, the Goober and the Ghost Chasers, well, we were the Catonsville Ghost Chasers. And I've had an interest in the paranormal for since that time. We found out about the old recordings of EVPs and things like that, and by doing research at the public library, and we started going to the local flea market at the old Evanston Drive-In over Route 40, and we bought old 126 cameras and reel tape recorders and things like that, trying to see if we could try to scare one another, and just to see if there was anything to it. And then eventually later on, we kind of like lost touch. And then later on, we got together and we started the Catonsville Society for Paranormal Research. And then as I got new members into the group, and then we branched out in March 2004, which is PRISM, the Paranormal Research and Investigation Society of Maryland. Been out there, been very blessed I've been over most of the United States. I've been in 42 out of the 50 states so far. I've done a lot of investigations at many of those locations, and met a lot of great people along the way. Met you through all of our investigations, which we did many years ago. It's hard to believe, man. That's, going back to literally 15, 16 years ago, when we actually did one. Last time you and I saw one another was at my 35th high school reunion. So, but it's been great, man. I mean, it's a great great place to actually meet a lot of people. There's a lot of things that I do outside of the paranormal. I build cigar box guitars. I do have my business where I do a lot of the work on many musical instruments, trying to restore them and do setups. I enjoy my photography. I have a degree in photography. In the graphic arts field, majoring in photography, and I've been very blessed to have been able to go places and meet a lot of new people and meet new friends.
That's good. That's good. We're going to start with the USS Constellation. We'll talk about that. Both you and I have done. I don't know. Did you do an overnight?
We did one that was several years ago, before everything kind of collapsed downtown. The last one we did on there, before the episode with the Holzer files, I didn't go below the gun deck. But we've actually got many things on there. And of course, you had to be down there after when Harbor Place would close and not have a lot of foot traffic around, and it is an active ship. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I had my first encounter on there when I was 10 years old in fourth grade. That was back in 1974 from Keansville Elementary School, and so that's what I didn't know when I was contacted. Years ago, when the Holzer Files was filming there, that they were going to base basically what was my story, and I had no idea about that. But I was very honored, very blessed for that to happen.
Right. As we're talking, I'm gonna throw some photos up there. I did several overnight investigations on that ship, and of course, like you said, it's open, so you got to worry about people walking around on the outside of it, coming from restaurants and bars and stuff like that. But
Right.
I would always just, tag if I heard a voice from the outside. Let's see here. The first one I want to throw up here is you and Dave Schrader. Okay, and here's
that was the night of filming. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that right there was that's down in what is now the Bilge area. This is where the Briggs were. Basically, it took place on there. That was all from the filming itself while we're down there. Now they're redoing that whole area of the ship there on that level. Network Plank, the one that operates Under Armour, has Sagamore Farms and Sagamore Rye, whiskey. He actually has many casks on there. I mean, this is like major work that they're doing. They're actually aging a lot of that on the Constellation to be able to use that in turn to take and sell later to try to raise money to save the ship.
Right. Yeah, most of the good stuff I retrieved from the ship was the captain's quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at one time, one of my members and myself, Chris, were inside doing EVP work, and we got a couple good EVPs, and we came outside. Once you come outside the captain's quarters, there's that big table. That's where all my members, piled their equipment and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Chris and I were standing there talking, and I remember the door wasn't completely closed, but it slammed shut and the latch flipped over by itself. And I looked at Chris. Chris looked at me and was like, "Okay, let's not go in there for a while." You know, I don't think we did anything or said anything to piss him off, but I guess he just decided to get pissed off, and that's what the door was about when it slammed. It slammed shut, and the latch flipped over by itself. So we waited a little while, and then we went back in. And I didn't really get any much EVPs or any good photos below. So you said you didn't go down below?
No. This is what happened with my experience. My first experience on the Constellation. Many people, if you grew up in the Baltimore area, I mean, I grew up between two hometowns when my parents split up, and between Gainesville, Maryland, and Princeton, West Virginia. So, with Baltimore many years ago, the fourth grade classes that we had, there was 3 classes in K-12 elementary school, and we would go to down to Baltimore for field trips either to the museums or the zoo or whatever have you. And this time we were going to be going on a split field trip. And the first part would be on the Constellation, and we would tour that. And that was in bad shape at that time because it was literally breaking in the middle. But she was sitting in the water just like this, literally. And it wasn't until like about 20 years ago the Navy was actually talking about sinking it as an artificial reef if Baltimore didn't get their act together and try to save it. Right. So you had volunteers on there, docents would take you around. And the second part, we would actually get on board the old Port Welcome. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
And we would take and go down through the industry in Baltimore, where you go down there now. There's the National Aquarium. That was actually Allied Signal used to have a chromium plant there. I mean, that's actually a brownfield, believe it or not. I don't know how they ever cleaned it up and get that passed by, but that's another story. But we would go down to Sparrows Point and see the Bethlehem Steel Mill and the shipyards and things like that and return. So this is long before they even built Harbor Place, and they just tore down a couple of the old warehouses that did remain down on Light Street.
Okay.
So this platform was there, and so we go out there where she's docked today is where we got off, and we walked up there and we went on board, and they would take you to different stations aboard the ship, and they would tell you about the crew, about how many was on board, and what each one of their jobs would be, about either climbing and rigging in the sails, or possibly even going out there and swabbing the decks. When things got rather bored. I guess boredom for a lot of those guys, and different things like that. And we'd go below the ship each deck, and we'd tell you the life story about a lot of these guys. And of course, we heard briefly about Captain Truxton and things of that nature on board the ship.
Right.
So, so what we were doing was we went through and we remember how maybe they had all these little storage areas, and so we always wanted to know what was behind them. Like, did people hide out in there? Is this where they kept their booze or whatever it is like that? And being a little troublemaker when I was in fourth grade, it's just like me and two of my friends there. We kind of like what's going on with this? Let's get there. Let's start looking at some of these places if we get a chance to do it. So it was raining that day, and the Port Welcome was at another location getting refueled. So after we got done with the tour, we all met back at the helmsman's wheel, and we're waiting for the Constellation, or when we were waiting for the Port Welcome to return. And the next thing you know, it was they said they were going to be running late. I said, well, okay, when you hear the ship's horn on the Port Welcome, everyone meet back at the helmsman's wheel, and we'll go over and get on board and get ready for the next part of the tour. So, I remember we broke off from the group, and we went up there and we started looking at, running rampant over the ship like a bunch of school kids usually do. So we went down into the lower levels, and we would go into different places where we're not supposed to do it. And like we went in this one area where they were working on one of the bulkheads, and I remember there was a guy down there, and they were cutting out sections of the wood for to actually do some of the repairs and such. And he's up there. He's got a big old cigar in his mouth, and he's up there working on things. And all of a sudden, turned and looked at him, and was like, "You're not supposed to be here." Well, I don't care. I want to know what you're doing, And so as things went on, we started working our way down into where the brig was. This is where they held some guys that they they played Pharaoh or were any kind of games on board the ship, and that they ripped somebody off, or they threatened somebody, or got a little fisticuffs. This would they would put these guys in these locations. Mm-hmm. So I remember going down, and we were coming back to an area, and it was as we're getting there, we heard hammering, but it didn't sound like the hammering which we've been hearing. It was on the ship, and it was kind of like off in the distance, and it wasn't it wasn't a solid, or it wasn't. It just seemed peculiar. Right. And so I remember as we're walking down towards there, we saw something come out through those bars from the brig.
Right.
And you see this hand come out there, and it was out there, and it was like trying to grab at somebody, and all of a sudden it did one of these, and then it pulled back in. Well, we thought it was somebody messing with us. We went running down to it, and we got there at the door going into the brig, and there's nobody there. I mean, you have all this hair going up back your neck. We looked at one another like, let's get out of here. And of course, I'm like Eric Cartman. I'm just like trying to catch up with everybody else. And all I could hear was my heartbeat and my shoes hitting the deck, running. So we get there to the one stairwell getting out of the ship. And remember, it's you got open space between the steps. Well, I have kind of like vertigo because I can't really climb a ladder anymore. And with that everything's going like this. Well, I'm looking at my feet as I'm going up the stairs. It looked like this. It looked like a foamy black mass, like a fog. It was like a wave come in. You didn't hear it. All you see it, and it was coming up, actually. Like water was rising, like the ship was sinking. You didn't hear anything like that. All you heard was the footbeat, the footsteps, and the heartbeats going. We get there, and we got to the top deck, and as we're going out by the wheel, and we looked at one another like, "Don't you say a GD word." We're not going to take and ran each other out about this because we weren't supposed to be down there. Right. That was when they sounded the horn, and we got on board the port welcome. But we kept prying one another. Don't you say a word? Don't say a word. And it wasn't until when there was at that time it was matter of fact, our good friend Bill Hartley had contacted me, and wondered if I had any stories about or accounts of being on the Constellation. I'm like, oh, let me tell you about this one. And that's what started the whole thing off. That's how. And when I was contacted by the production company, I had no idea that Dave Schrader was even involved with it. And but we do many conventions and conferences together, and that. But it was a great experience to go down there, and especially at 3:00 in the morning, stand there and I'm the last one to be interviewed. This is it. This is about 20 after 3. This is filmed Memorial Day week of 2019 when it was filmed. And let me tell you something. Having that bang, it was Ray on the bulkhead. Ray gets near where I'm standing right there, and we're below the waterline.
Right.
So it wasn't coming from above, below, behind us, in front of us. This is from the outside, and then you hear that bang, and then you see me turn around like what was that? That kind of a thing. Like, we all tend to say once in a while when we do investigations.
Yeah. So Yeah, you remember Dave when we did phenomenology? I did karaoke.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was his favorite song. I think "I Love You" by David Cassidy. Yeah,
I think it's yeah, it would be a little bit of adult beverages involved, so that will put it to that way. What happens if phenomenology stays a phenomenology? I guess
yeah,
you want to look at it that way.
right. But yeah, I mean, we had a great time. We were set up in the vendor room and promoting our paranormal group and whatnot, and it was a great time. Yeah.
Hmm.
So let me just. I got this straight now. We're side by side now. I have the chat room open. Uh, I'm trying to figure. Okay, let's talk about Point Lookout. You've been there. I've been there. I've had a couple some good results from there, EVPs and photos and whatnot.
Hmm.
You have one here. Uh, I'm not sure if it wasn't. You sent me the two photos. Now I'm not sure if it was gone after you took the second shot or you took the first one. It wasn't there, and then there was something there. So which one should I? I'll give you this one.
Okay, yeah, this is one that's the after shot. Um, this is looking from the basement. There's when you go to the Point Lookout Lighthouse,
Hmm.
it's a duplex and it's split off. You have a north and a south side to the lighthouse, and this is on the north side. This one here, I think this is the one. This is the before picture, and then I think the one previous was one after. This is the light
Right.
anomaly, and this is we actually had that window open, believe it or not. Uh, and that, and so the this looks like a ball of light that just came right down. Now, when we take pictures with these um, the digital cameras,
Right.
we always hold it out in front of us like this, um, around the frame. You got the strap around your wrist. I mean, it's tight, and you take pictures like this. This is what we do with them.
Right.
And that was done. That was one of the photographs that captured this lead anomaly. I can't explain it. And that night was really active because we had that was an investigation that we done in 2013,
Okay.
2012 and 2013, and we were actually doing we were down there doing security with the volunteer at the lighthouse. There was a group from Virginia that came up, and only few of their members actually came down to the point. It was a nor'easter that was coming through, very active, and a lot of things happened that night. That was just one instance that happened in that basement. Another one was over by the stairwell that came from the outside. That came down. You see a type of either some type of mist of some sort,
Hmm.
or that would come in there. And also, that was the night when we had the black mass actually follow us through both sides of the lighthouse.
Okay. All right. I'm just looking at. Let's see. Hi, Harris. Okay, it says, "What's up, Harris?" Okay. I believe that's Harris trying to say hello to you and I.
All right. Hello.
Yeah, Harris is from Virginia. Virginia. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Trying to get this. I don't know why. All right, let's go back. I'm going back to the photos. Let's go to this one here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
that right there was um, in the northern side of the duplex in the rear. It would be actually kind of like the front door where you come out the parking lot coming into the lighthouse. This is This is where the black mass actually you see to the left, to the right side, where I'm standing. Got my eyes closed. It's a pitch black room, but we have ambient light coming through the windows because there are security lights that's out down there for fishermen and that. And we actually have this. You see the one part of on the going in from the upper right into the mid part of the photograph, that this thing actually came into the room and went around. And actually, we have one picture of one of our investigators. Is you see her face being partially blocked out with it. Then we have where we actually went totally black. You couldn't see the hand in front of your face. The temperature dropped dramatically. This is it. This is Nikki Dalich. She's a one of our members. She's the assistant tech director on our team, and she was basically fully enveloped right there. That was the beginning of it. As you see, it goes through, and we had this thing come up the hallway on both sides of the duplex.
Okay. Let's take a look at this one.
This is the other part of the shadow. This is from one of our other investigators. You see the shadow, the black mass in the upper right hand corner down to that mid part of the photograph coming down, and it's blocking out the light. Now this is mind you, when you take pictures like this, that there's nothing blocking the flash on these cameras. Mm-hmm. And this is what we have as part of it. There are several photographs you'll see where this thing comes into the room and actually goes back down the hallway.
Okay. Let's take a look at this one. See what this.
Mm-hmm. This is looking towards the cupola, which is this is where the light would have been in the lighthouse that's facing the Chesapeake. Those not familiar with Point Lookout Lighthouse, it's located in Scotland, Maryland, in St. Mary's County, where the Chesapeake and the Potomac meet. The only thing down there is the lighthouse itself and two buoy sheds that they had for which the Navy had at one point ran life saving. So they would actually go out into the Potomac, come around the Chesapeake side because the Chesapeake is one of the most violent bodies of water in the entire world, other than the English Channel, and so a lot of shipwrecks actually happen off of Point Lookout, and this is going up to where they used to have a light which was deactivated in 1966 at this location. But you'll see the top portion of this frame of the door leading out into the hallway, going up towards the which is the actual front of the lighthouse where the light would be, and the cupola. And you can see where it's the formation of the black mass at the top of it.
Okay, was this next photo? I'm not sure if it was before or after, but it kind of looks like the same area.
That's the same area. This is the second photograph taken, and it's actually brought down. You see where it's coming down into mid part of the hallway now.
Right. See that? Yeah. Oh, before I move on, I want to let me just get this. Okay, what did I do here? There we go. Now I'm back. You remember when we did I did the Bill Bean event at St. Helena in Dundalk?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I had when I rented the hall. I don't know what the woman's problem was, but me and her had a little argument. And she had said, "I didn't know you were going to have that many people." I'm like, "Does it matter how many people I have?" I said, because I asked her, "How much do you want for the hall?" and what I was doing, and she had a few words with me. But anyway, you come walking in. I didn't know you. So I'm standing over by Cora.
God rest her soul.
Yes. And I said to Cora, "Oh boy, I hope she didn't call the sheriff or the police, And you come walking in your uniform. I told Cora, I said, "I'll be back." She said, "Where the hell are you going?" She said, "You better get your ass back here. You're dealing with this. I'm not." So there was nothing wrong, but it turned out to be so funny afterwards. And she was like, "What did he want?" I said, "He wanted a ticket. He knows Bill."
Mm-hmm.
So that was, yeah, God rest her soul, but I'll never forget that. Man, she like tore me a new butt. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, you get
She was
your ass back here,
straightforward.
you deal with it, not me. Because I had her back behind the table, attending to the snacks and food and stuff like that. She was like,
Mm-hmm.
you get back here. Yeah, that was so funny. But here's another photo I want to throw up.
Okay.
Throw up there. That's Bill Bean, Keith Age, Kane Hodder, and me when I was a lot heavier. God, I was about 300 some pounds there. But that was in Alabama. And let's see. Let me move down here. Well, I'm gonna have to go back up because we have. Let's see where we're at here. All right, so past that. Oh, there's you and Keith Age.
Mm-hmm. He bought one of my guitars. I mean, the Michael Myers Halloween resonator,
Mm-hmm.
and I have it at our tables now. That's had to work with both the passion of two worlds that I have: the paranormal and the guitar building.
Now Keith Age played for Ted Nugent, correct?
And that he did. And also with he grew up with the Kentucky Headhunters. Um, he had he played with big names back in
Right.
the day.
Bass guitar, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let me try to. Okay. I'm going to start right here.
Oh my, yes. This is from back in October of 2022. This is the Highland. I mean, I'm sorry, the Belmont Inn uh, in Abbeville, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
There was I was very blessed, and I want to say hi to um, David and Karen Van Marm. God bless you guys. I mean, they were ones who actually put on the event with the Upstate Spirit Conference. And so I was honored to be down there as part of it, of their first conference that they had. And very beautiful town. And that's when I'm fully retired. That's what I'm hoping I'm moving to, because it's a beautiful town down there. I actually met somebody from Dundalk down there, believe it or not. He used to work down at Sparrows Point. I had a picture taken with him and his dog. They were in the city square or town square before we left. But that was very haunted. And so what David and Karen did, and I want to extend also out there on a side note, please keep Karen Van Marm in your thoughts and prayers. I mean, she's having some health issues now. These folks I met at face to face at Mid South Paranormal Conference back in 2008 down in Kentucky, and but I've known them since the MySpace days. And these folks are truly professional when it comes to paranormal investigating, and that they don't take no duff. I'll put it to you that way. But this when they put me into a room that was there, room 10, which is the most active. There's been some deaths in there in that location. I mean, it's over 100 some years old. The hotel is, and very beautiful, great food. And if you ever get a chance to go there, the entire town. There was a lot of things that happened there at that time. Went into it, had some of my equipment been moved, which we had full control over, everything locked. There was no other access points into the room. Also, I got smacked on the derriere twice.
Wow.
Before I went to get a shower before we had our dinner the initial night of the conference. And there was we've actually had footsteps up and down the hallways. Went out there. We actually set motion sensors up when there was other investigators that was in the hotel. they were in confined areas, doing controlled experiments and things of that nature, and can't explain it. There's audible whispers also coming from these rooms. But the whole hotel itself is active as all get go. And we were very fortunate. We were the first ones to go in there and actually did an investigation in this location.
I'm going to put up a few photos of the town. Okay, there's one. Let's see. Let's go to the next one here. And then I believe there's a third one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you ever watched the Dukes of Hazzard, and when Roscoe would chase the Duke boys through the town, this is what it looks like. Is they have a central park, and then the whole town is built around it.
Mm-hmm.
Many vacant businesses, as you see, it's almost like a semi-active ghost town. Is basically what it is. Very clean. The people are. I mean, I could never compliment them enough. As far as it's very well maintained. I mean, you figure with many of these southern states and how they dwindle in population, they don't keep their towns up. These folks do, and they take great pride in what they have there. And I recommend everybody, if you ever get a chance, to go through Abbeville, South Carolina, which is about an hour south of Columbia, South Carolina. It's a great place. The food down there is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. If you ever have a chance to go there, I mean, don't miss it. I mean, if you drive through, take a side road and go right into it, because there's actually several ghost towns before you get to it. Mountville being one of them, and the town's still there. The buildings that are there, nobody around. I mean, there's been it's a lot. It's a great location for anybody who's in paranormal investigating. You can even walk down out there at midnight. Won't be bothered by anybody. You can still get many EVPs in front of these locations.
Right. Well, I guess I missed that one. I've been up and down the East Coast, a lot of places, a lot of years. I'm just looking here to, yeah. Let me ask you this: what is your interest in Bigfoot and other cryptids?
I've never ruled it out. I mean, I've been with Eric Altman, which is a good friend of ours. That we had Paramanling conference, well, weekend retreat, might as well say. We actually had gotten the Daniel Lady Farm. We had access to that location over a weekend and did investigation there. Well, during the day, he would take us into Cadora State Forest up there in Pennsylvania, which there has been sightings of Bigfoot, and actually we went there and did some tracking, things like that. It's very interesting to know that there are other things out there other than us. I'm not going to rule anything out about that. I mean, I'm not downing anybody if they're into UFOs or whatever it is like that. We all have a passion. We want to find out, is there everything or anything out there other than us? You always have that. It's kind of like it's deductive reasoning is what it is. That's what we use on our team. I mean, basically try to rule everything out and try to find the common denominator. But I always like they always want to hear about the encounters that people have. I mean, I've heard the skunk ape and down in where I used to live in West Virginia, along the East River, there's been sightings down there, of course, and especially around the Glenland, Virginia area, coming over into Kellysville, West Virginia, in the lower part, about an hour west of Virginia Tech and Christiansburg, Blacksburg, Virginia. That whole area down there is completely active.
The reason I asked you is because I know you like research, history, and stuff like that. Now, this coming fall, I'm going to be doing my first documentary, and I decided to do a documentary about the Pine Barrens, the Jersey Devil.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be doing a 2-hour documentary, and this coming fall I'll be in the Pine Barrens for a 2-day camping trip to do some filming and investigate as well, while being there. So if you're interested, I'd like to have you come along.
I'd be honored. Actually be honored. I mean that's been one of the things I've actually had an interest in as well. I mean, there's been a few of us that actually had some content, or actually had some ideas about going up there and doing a grid search and start that and see what pushes out. Whether this is what we'll find out what's up there one way or another.
Right. Now, this is just a daytime shot. The Pine Barrens is very, very large. I mean, it goes on forever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a photo I found that surfaced many years ago, and I think it's the only one that's been captured of the Jersey Devil. But I'm not going to say it's real. I'll put it up there.
Well, it could be plausible. I mean, it's open to interpretation. I'm not going to rule anything out.
Right.
But I mean, if it was staged, why is that deer taking off? If it was somebody in costume, I mean, you have to figure, okay, how can you break that down? I mean, we could go in infinitum about using modern technology to break down those photographs, just like the woman in white and at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery that was taken many years ago.
Right.
How can you? But until when you do the research and you find out and try to interview many people, what did they see? Who took this photograph? What did they use? I mean, was it a 35 millimeter camera? Was it a cell phone camera? Was it a digital camera? You want to find out what they captured with a trail camera. Is what I'm thinking that this might be, but you don't want to rule anything out. I mean, it's not a set science. I mean, we all have questions. I mean, is this thing out there? Is it some type of creature that that hasn't been documented, that we don't know of? I mean, it leaves a lot of questions for a lot of people to try to answer.
Right. Now, I just recently did some research, and the last sighting that I found was in 2020 by a father and son that were just happened to be driving by, and they looked out the window of the car and they saw out onto a body of water. Like, is that a horse standing up on his back legs? So they turned around and they went back and they got a photo. I don't have access to it right now, but I asked them if they would be willing to be a guest on the show, and they said yes. So I'm just waiting for them to, give me a definite answer and, give me access to that photo. So I can put it up there, when they're on the show. But 2020, yeah, it's the last time I believe that there was a sighting. I could be wrong. There could be one in 21, 22. I don't know, but yeah. So like I said, late fall, I'm going to be doing a documentary and a 2-day investigation. There's going to be probably, I would say, 15 people going. So if you're interested, love to have you there.
That'd be honored.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we work with many people. We work with John Sable doing with the ghost excavations. I mean, I've done many different things. I mean, we're open. I call myself the open-minded skeptic. I'm basically like Joe Friday of the paranormal, if you want to look at it that way, if it's kind of fitting of it, and just try and, hey, let's find out what's going on there.
Yeah, so I'm going to do, there's the birthplace. Now it's just like a brick foundation of where it was born in 1735. Deborah Leeds had 12 children, and the Jersey Devil was the 13th one, and she cursed it. And, it killed the family members, and then it flew up the chimney, and it's been seen ever since, every so often in the Pine Barrens. So we'll see what happens. There's another site in the Pine Barrens called the Blue Hole, and that's where they believe it lives, under a body of water. This water, the reason they call it the Blue Hole is because it's crystal clear and you can see down under so far, maybe I'm going to say 15 feet. That's how clean it is. And then a lot of the water that flows through the Pine Barrens looks like tea, a darker, color. I've been doing a lot of research, getting notes and saving photos and writing the information down, the history on it and stuff like that. I've even listened to a number of professors that have talked about this in colleges, and whatnot. So yeah, I'd love to have you on that trip. Let's take a look at let's see here. Okay, let's talk. We'll go back to the paranormal, but let's talk about these interesting guitars that you make out of cigar boxes.
Cigar boxes, cookie tins. I make them out of actually construction hats. Believe it or not, I actually have a prototype. I don't have it with me right here in the office. I got it down in the shop. But I actually, the hard hats you find on the side of the road, that comes out there, and the one that I'm actually have under construction right now, which I do have, I have to kind of preserve it in its form. It has Robert Johnson on the front of it. Somebody put one of those little stickers on there, and this is the worker for this one company. Well, if you're into the old blues and you hear about Robert Johnson, he made a deal with the devil in order to, that's where Crossroads comes from, the song, and he made a deal with the devil, and to try to be famous in music and things of that nature. And I might have a guitar that I'm actually going to premiere it at the Pennsylvania Cigar Box Guitar Festival in New York in August. I'll be up there with that. I won't have a table, but I'll be up there with the guitar once I have it completed, and that'd be one out there. But there are many paranormal investigators who have purchased guitars from me, and I've been very, very blessed with it. I mean, I've been working with wood for a long time. Used to dive in Bill's Music House here in Catonsville. We're known as Music City, Maryland. And what's funny, we have several guitar shops in the area. That's the reason why we have that. Plus, there's been times where Debbie Harry, when she went to UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, she actually had done some singing and recording at A1 Studios, which is in Catonsville. Also heard, I graduated with the lead guitarist for Danzig. His name is John, he goes by John Christ, but his real name is John Knoll. And I graduated from Catonsville High School back in 1983. And he was at the reunion when you were DJing.
Right.
And but we have a mural there. I was there when they dedicated the mural to him that one Sunday. And I got to, to go out there and dive in there and getting a lot of these old guitars that Bills would throw away. I mean, he built his own guitars too. But I went there and got a lot of the stuff that they would throw away, and I would go out there and try to build my own. And then I started doing research, and also being in the South down West Virginia, I come across it's one of the, I actually made a guitar out of one of the strips from a picket fence. And I still have that in the shop hanging up, and it has mismatching tuners, but you can see where they try to make a lap steel out of it. So Depression era music, the old blues, the country, bluegrass, it all comes together, and that's been very fortunate, very blessed, being able to turn another passion of mine into a business.
How long does it take you to make one of them?
From the design phase depends on because generally what started all off, it'll go about, you can build one in about 3 hours, depending upon the drying time with the glues and that. A lot more of the artwork drags it out even further. A real good one from start to finish takes about anywhere from 4 to 6 hours usually. I mean, if you really want a halfway decent one, you can't rush them. I mean,
Right.
With the woods that I do get, I let them season. I put them away. I have a lot of poplar and that I use, maple, and I just put it away and let it season for a year before I start working with that. And you have to rotate with that, and plus you have to get the right materials together from all the different companies and such. And luckily you can get a lot of that ahead of time as far as the tuners and the electronics and everything else. But something like that, I mean, it's I can design pretty much anything. I've actually designed one which I didn't send to you. The one that I had done for Christmas, I've done what's called dual octave, which is basically it's a lot of your cigar box guitars. They are usually either they can go from a single string, which is known as a diddley bow. Well, that's where Bo Diddley got his name from, because it was a cigar box with a broom handle, and they used the baling wire off of the broom. They would give you enough of that string to be able to actually work with it. And one string is called a diddley bow. The second, a 2-string is called a chugger. And then you have the 3 and 4 strings, but you can make 6 strings. There's no rules into it. I mean, it goes anywhere from like 19.5 inch to 27.5 inch scale. But you can have it fretless. You can have it fretted. There are numerous ways you can build these things. And I try to use with the different genres, like the one that I did for Tina Scalf. I did it for her brother. She's with the out of Arkansas, and they have a River Valley Paranormal group, and I built one for her brother. And actually, I did the artwork on the front of this. It was a Ford Deuce Coupe that he had built, and that was his passion, is doing these hot rods. And I built a dual octave for him and sent it down there, and actually have pictures of that up on my Facebook profile. And that,
Jim, there's a question. I'm not sure who it's from because I don't see their name, but it says Dave asked him to make one out of a wicker basket. Is that possible?
That anything's possible. I mean, like I say, with a lot of these instruments that you build, I mean, you can utilize anything. Another guitar that I'm unveiling, it'll be on the Crossland Guitars USA page that's on Facebook. I'll actually have it up there next couple of weeks. I'm actually making one out of it. It was a display model for a Roomba vacuum cleaner. And it was Bed Bath & Beyond was going out of business basically in Bel Air, and they were dumping everything, and these were just display models. Well, I got it and just gutted everything out, and I'm now working this into a guitar, and it's going to be a very unique guitar, to say the least. But yeah, you can make them out of a basket. I've seen them made out of wine crates. I've seen many things being built. It's nothing like going to a cigar box guitar festival where you see a drum kit made out of Samsonite luggage and paint buckets, and the incredible sound that comes out of these. I was very blessed back in 2019. We set the world record in York at the York Emporium. There's 264 of us. When we set the record for playing Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood, 264 of us on cigar box guitars. We actually did that, and I was very blessed to have my picture in the York record, as part of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but being up there and just listening to this music, cigar box, it's called Cigar Box Serenaders. I mean, Samantha Fish, she plays the cigar box guitar, and but it's incredible. I mean, the sound that comes out of these is incredible.
Uh-huh. Wow. Yeah, I saw that video of the Bad to the Bone. That was pretty interesting. Yeah. Now I've played a guitar since I got out of junior high school. But the last 5 years, I haven't been able to play well because of my neuropathy and my fingers and I stopped for a while too. You know yourself, when you play a guitar, you got to keep with it. You got to keep them fingers tough and, calluses and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But I think I'm interested. I think I'm going to, eventually get you to make me one. It's probably, now I saw a Bigfoot guitar, so I might want a Bigfoot cigar box or, something like that.
I can do the artwork. I mean, anything up there, whatever genre anybody wants to do. I mean, I actually want to build one dedicated to like Phantasm, because Richie Bannister is going through some troubled times right now, and he was the Ice Cream Man in Phantasm. I was a big fan of his, big fan of the movie. Got a chance to meet him at a convention up in Gettysburg many years ago, and he actually used to be the spokesman for October Guitars, which used to be made down Laurel many years ago. So, but yeah, I'll be more than happy to help. If you're interested in buying one, I mean, tell me what you want. Do a rough sketch out and send me a photograph of it. This here is that's one of my baritones. That was one of the first ones I built. It was a 27.5-inch guitar like that, and but it's an incredible sounding. It's got a deep growl to it. It's the last 3 strings on a regular 6-string guitar, and that was made out of a Padron box. And that's the type of boxes I use for my resonators. When I get the license plate on the front, measure it fits in there perfectly. Then I hollow out the top of the box, so that way that the metal itself will actually resonate even louder when you work with it. The internal springs, you get the more resonance out of it. You get the real growly power ballads if you really want to work into it.
That's cool. Look, anytime you want to post something, on the group page of Bigfoot Paranormal Encounters podcast for your guitars and what you do, that's fine with me. Just go ahead and throw it up there, because I'll be the one to authorize it anyway. So.
Oh, I sure appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime you need to, put a posting out there about it, even if it's an upcoming event, paranormal related, or about the guitars, convention for the guitars or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we go. Also, don't forget to get it. Are you coming in July to the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash?
July is a busy month for me. Send me the information, and I'll let you know.
Definitely will.
I started a little business. I haven't really said much to anyone, but I started a little business doing backdrops. UFOs, paranormal, ghosts, Bigfoot, and it consists of photography. People getting their pictures taken in front of a backdrop that hangs from a truss. It could be anywhere from 7 to 10 feet long. Even the height. could be the same thing. So I'm going to give that a shot instead of karaoke. I kind of like, when I retired
We
from,
had fun with that, though. You got to admit that it was fun doing it.
yeah, it was. We had Ghost Lab there. We had
Reach out to the brothers of Everyday Paranormal, Brad and Barry, Cling.
yeah,
Hey,
John Zaffis. Gosh, I'm like trying to remember. But anyway, I don't know if you know this or not, but the last night when we wrapped up Phenomenology and I was doing karaoke in the bar, I got everything broke down and I put it on the cart. And I looked out and I looked up the hall and I saw all these biker dudes coming in, right?
Mhm.
So I get to the front door and this biker guy puts his hand on my shoulder and goes, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I'm done." He goes, "No, you're not." And I didn't even know who they were. Now, you remember the TV show with those bikers? What was it called?
American Chopper.
No.
Um, hmm. Now you got me.
They had a good TV show for a couple years, and my God, I can't remember the name of it. But that's who it turned out to be. So let me see what this is up here. Let me go back to the thing, and I'll be able to see it. Tell Jim I said hello. Okay, we need to know who you are.
Well, whoever you are, hi.
Yeah, I explained to you about the situation with Facebook. For some reason, the name doesn't come through with Facebook. So I'm working on it, and I'm going to solve that problem. But if it's coming from YouTube, it'll, let's see, where are we at? Sharing from Arkansas. No, that's Barry. Then there was, it's me, Barry. Okay, so Barry Sylvie says hi. And
That's a name from the past. That's been a long time.
yeah, he was a member of my group, and he's now living in Arkansas. I told him, I said, "Man, you're in Arkansas. You need to get down there and check out the Boggy Creek.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? Yeah, Falk, Arkansas. Yeah, the Falk monster. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Get down there and check it out." I've been to Arkansas before, but I didn't make a stop to, check out the Boggy Creek area and stuff like that, where a lot of that filming was done.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to the paranormal. Let me just get that back right there. So, okay. Ramblewood. Did you do Ramblewood?
Well, I absolutely did. Out there, we did the one convention with Herman Stevenson.
Oh,
God
yeah.
rest his soul.
Yeah.
Big Mike. And did the investigation up there, also with our good friends over at Neppy, was there, and had a lot of things happen. It's a very unique location to get into. Has a lot of history to it. I didn't go to. I was too big to go into those tunnels. It was supposed to go out to Susquehanna,
right?
But of course, me and spiders don't get along either. It's some of my biggest fears.
Oh yeah.
I do have fears. I mean, heights, spiders, rabid wolverines, high on angel dust, things like that. So, but excuse me, but it was a very unique experience being up there. And I think when they had the conference up there on that one weekend, I came up, and it was needless to say, I mean, that upstairs was very active. I mean, we were up and down those staircases, we were chasing all these noises. We know there was nobody up there. We had cameras and everything else, but yet there was you had nothing being disturbed up there. You heard things banging around. Nothing was, you never saw it on camera. And then all of a sudden you hear the talking, because we had everybody controlled, and we have a group EVP session. Everybody would pretty much quiet down. You have one person asking a question, and you hear this conversation going on. There was no campers outside, because they do have camping on the grounds there. At least at that time they did. And just to have that take place, I mean, it simply blows your mind. And it's one of the places that many of these shows haven't gone into. And it has a very unique history behind it, and it's a place that should be protected, because we know what happened with the Toomey School, which is right across the river over there near Port Deposit. So I mean, I like to see Ramblewood be able to be restored fully, and hopefully that the story can be told at that place.
Yeah, Ghost Lab was supposed to come in and do an episode, and Ghost Hunters as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened. I do know it had something to do with the owner. I had no control over it. I was like, can't believe this. When I got word that they weren't going to get ahead and go through with it, both of them. So, whatever went wrong between the owner and the filming crew and whatnot. So, yeah. But I had that from 2007 till 2016, and I had more activity in the attic than I did in the basement where the tunnel was, the hole. Mike Shango's the only one I knew that was brave enough to go down in there.
Especially when we did the investigation of the place down in Lithcombe many years ago. Got in there, and Mike and I went down there. It was June Smith's house down there. We did, and there was a lot of things that was going on there. And let me tell you something. If you ever investigate with Mike Shango, let me tell you something. He is a hoot. But he knows this stuff. I mean, he's not afraid. I mean, this guy, I wish I had a tenth of the energy that he had down there when we did an investigation many years ago down there in Lithcombe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I've worked with him a number of years, and yeah, he's when I was ready to stop, he was ready to he's ready to go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was a incident I had, me and John Miskell. A group had left. They decided not to stay all night, so they left and they got out of there. And I looked at John, and we were standing down at the bottom of the steps where you would go up to the attic. And we're standing there talking, and he says, what do you want to do? You want to do some investigating? I said, man, I'm tired. I said, I am wore out. And he's like, well, do you mind if I go ahead? I said, well, you know how I am about investigating by yourself. I always prefer someone to be with someone if they're going to, as long as it's two people. And I said, you know what? I said, give me a minute. Let me go get a cup of coffee. I said, I'll do some investigating with you. Boom! We look up. I said, John, that just came from the second floor. He said, I know it did.
Mm-hmm.
He said, are you ready now? I said, yeah, let me go get this coffee. So I went and got that coffee, and we went up there, and we got some recordings of the children. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and all the time you hear the next level between the main level and the second level, that landing going up the second level, it is like up and down all the time. You heard this footsteps, or they'll be running. It's kind of like they're teasing you, especially with that stained glass window that was up there. That was, when you get on that landing and it's up and down the hallways. I mean, when we were there that night, it was. I think we just had a storm that came through. Uh-huh. So you had that dense moisture in there, things like that. That night was active as all get go. I mean, that was You know, with Chris and Dan Winger, and we're in there like, okay, we got to get somebody outside. You know, and they had neppy guys went outside and I was watching the windows while we were doing all the running after all the stuff that was going on. And then the other one was when it was there was two of us that was actually in the house. We were doing we were taking turns and we have mixed of either two guys, two girls, or a guy and a girl, and you would do these different scenarios. And I remember as we went up the staircase and got right there by the stained glass, right there in that partition before we went to the second level, and all of a sudden it sounded like children's footprints were, their footsteps. They're scurrying like somebody's coming. Like we better get back to bed before we get in trouble.
Right.
I can't explain it. We do have, of course, you hear my big feet on the stairs. And of course, I wear size 16. I mean, I'm 6'4", but anyway, but you see me going up the stairs, and it's like, oh, Dad's caught us. That kind of a thing like that. Like you have kids. It's like just before Christmas, they would run. And so I would love to go back there and try to see if it'll ever kick up again. But well, that remains to be seen. See if ever happens in the future.
Right. I just thought of something, and Harris is in the chat room. So Harris, this one's for you, buddy. Harris's group was there. And at the time, Harris was in the basement doing some EVP work, and I was in the bedroom just above the basement, and I'm sitting on the bed, and I remember I said, "Is there anybody in the room with us? Can you make a noise?" And then all of a sudden, boom, the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Can you do that again? Come on, you did it once. Can you do it again?" Minutes later, Harris comes out of the basement, and we left the room because we were done. And he come walking towards me, and I'm like, "What the hell happened to you?" He had a big knot on the top of his head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "You ain't gonna believe it." He said, "I went to stand up, and I smacked my head on a part of the ceiling." I said, "Oh my God." I said, "That was probably you." When I said, "Is there anybody in the room with us?" And then there was a sound of a tap on the floor. He goes, "Yeah, that was my head hitting the ceiling." I'm like, "I'm sorry." I said, "Because I was asking the ghost to do it again." Because, well, I wasn't doing it again. So, yeah, that was a good memory. I'll never forget that. Harris, I'm sorry, buddy. I had to share that one. So,
man, well, that reminds me of like when Mike was up there when we went there to the cupola, and remember how it was like at that time it was like partially open. You could see up into the rafters of it,
right?
Things like that. And we had a lot of movement up there that night coming from that cupola for whatever reason. Up in that cupola, that circular room, and that there was a lot of activity up in there, and it got some muffled sounds from. It looked like it sounded like two women having a conversation, but one's trying to outdo one another, but we couldn't understand what the hell they were saying. Pardon my French, but that place is extremely active, and especially after when you have a storm, when you also got the Conowingo right there and the Susquehanna feeding into the Chesapeake right by you, right at the bottom of the mountain right there, I might as well say. That's a place that is it's actually mystifying. I mean, it also reminds me, and this goes back, this kind of shows how old I am. You remember back on NBC on Friday nights, they used to have a thing called Ghost Story with Sebastian Cabot?
Somewhat, yeah.
And it was after when he left that, they turned into Circle of Fear. Well, if you look at the opening credits of it, it's on YouTube. You can actually pull up the old series. If you look at that, it kind of reminds you the way that the lighting is on this building that they use. It kind of reminds you of Ramblewood.
Okay.
With the couple and everything else like that, and it's that's going back some ways. It was back on, I guess, about 72 to 74, basically around that time period. But yeah, it's incredible. I mean, if they ever, if anybody is ever to go up there and investigate again at Ramblewood, I want to know what they're finding, because
Right.
I still have a lot of questions that still need to be answered over that.
Yeah, I know Dana. I think she stopped investigating up there, and I'm not sure if anybody has taken it over, because when I stopped, Dana took it over, and then I'm not sure, what's been going on up there.
Mm-hmm.
What the owners allow. I know he travels a lot. He's always in another country, and yeah. So he's in the PA. The owner lives in the PA area. I have his contact information if I ever want to, go back up there. But
Mm-hmm.
Mike Stevenson himself, he was doing some stuff after I stopped. Well, let me ask you this. Uh, give me 1 second. I have to
No problem.
take care of some blood. Yeah, I had
Nobody
that.
wish that for you, man. I mean, I'll keep you in my prayers.
Yeah, I had that surgery yesterday, and I've been doing pretty good. No pain. Just dealing with drips of blood. Everything was done arthroscopic, and it's been needed to be done for a long time now. So I got it done, taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you this: were you a fan of sightings?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I'm going to be doing a show in June 7th. So far, I have one of the producers. And do you remember the EVP specialist, Al Rober?
Vaguely. Yeah, man, going. I remember when Tim White, you used to do Evening Magazine in Baltimore, WJZ years ago. He was the
Yeah.
host of the show.
Well, I can't locate him, but I reached out to Henry Winkler, which is the
Mm-hmm.
Fonz. I haven't heard back from him yet, but so far I have Al Rober, and he said one of his friends was one of the producers of Sightings. So on June 7th, I'm going to be doing a show about sightings. That's going to be really, really interesting.
It's a
Uh,
shame, we grew up with like sightings, and then go back even further with In Search Of. That's
yeah,
going back a ways.
yeah, and unsolved mysteries. And,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean there wasn't a whole lot back then, but there was enough to you know keep me going. Al Rover was like my idol, man. I was like everything he talked about and did. I took notes and followed in his footsteps, and I've always been when it comes to the paranormal, EVP and sound uh, was my specialty. That's what I always worked with. Video, I had somebody, do that for the group, but audio was my thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's coming up. Like I said, that's coming up June 7th. I'm going to put some more advertisement out there about it. And yeah. Let me ask you this. What was the mouse getting dry? What was the most bizarre sighting you've ever encountered in the paranormal?
Mm. Well, outside of what I saw on the constellation, that was probably which took me. The other one that was probably, it happened a few years later than that. I'll set this up for you. Um, my grandmother and grandfather lived in 9 Newburgh Avenue in Catonsville, Maryland. The house has been built onto, but the center section was actually the carriage house for the founder of Catonsville, Richard Caton, who was the son-in-law of Charles Carroll of Carrollton, who was the signer of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution from the state of Maryland. It's one of the oldest buildings in Catonsville, but my grandparents rented it; they didn't own it. And but there was an old man that lived there before they did, who used to put poison out for dogs and cats. He hated animals. He would hole himself up in this upper dormer up in this attic. He eventually, I believe, he was put in the Spring Grove State Hospital at the time. And but he used to lower a rope with a bucket, and he had somebody would come by and he would do his business in it, in other words, and had food raised up to him. He had one person that actually cared about him, and eventually he was put down there, I believe, and then my grandparents had moved in there. So this is in 1979. My grandmother had died just the Saturday before Thanksgiving of that year. Well, this is in October, and the house in the front was actually added onto in about 1900 or so, and so that part of the stairwell that went up from the bed, the second level, going up to the third level where the attics were and the dormers. My grandmother wanted me to go up there and close the doors because my dad, and my uncle was going to take them and close in plastic to try to cut the drafts down. Mm-hmm. And so to go up there, I went this is when I was in junior high school. I forget, ninth grade. Running up there, I had a plan of action. First thing I'm going to do is when I get to the top of the stairs, I'm going to go to the furthest door first, close that door, come back to this one, and then run down. Well, this is about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, starting to get dark, in that time period. And so I go up there and I close. I'm good. I got that door closed and I'm coming back. All of a sudden, that where you saw the black mass that was at Point Lookout was exactly like what happened at 9 Newburgh. It was pitch black in the room. You couldn't see but yet there was 2 windows. And I remember going to that door, and all of a sudden this chill hit me, like it was bone jarring. And all of a sudden, it had all the toys from my aunts and my uncles. That was up there, and a couple other things, and plus the steamer truck that had my grandfather's World War I uniform in it and things. You would have to physically get behind to get to these windows. Well, this mass stepped away from the window, like you just walk sideways. Mm-hmm. And the first thing in my mind, like, I'm gonna get the F out of here. This thing moved, and the only thing I remember was grab that door handle and I slammed it shut. I didn't even touch a step going down the stairs. I'm jumping from landing to landing. Wow. So it was the house is juxtaposed. I mean, the way it was divided up. And I remember getting down there. Yeah, my grandmother was back in the kitchen, and so she said, "Well, did you close those doors like I asked you?" I said, "Well, yeah." And she looked at me. She said, "You saw it, didn't you?" I saw something up there. Well, you saw it. That's all she said. Mm-hmm. The day before we found my grandmother in the house, she actually died in the house, but my grandfather did too. 6 years earlier. I remember we were going to the A&P, which is right on Further Grove, right across the street from catty corner from the house. So we would always go up there every day and check in on her and that. And I remember her looking at it as we were leaving, and I said, "Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Grandma." And she says goodbye, and just had this blank stare, like she's looking through me, seeing something else behind me. I don't know. I can't explain it. And that was when we got the phone call the next day to go up there. She died in her sleep. Went there, found her in her bed. My aunt, who lived with my grandmother at that time, had called down. And but whatever it was an omen that something was gonna happen. So that's probably one of the things. There was also another thing what happened on the job, and this is over. If you're familiar with Bowerman's Road, if you go off of Allender and going around to, which would turn into Laurel Beach,
Right.
eastern of Baltimore County, was another one. This happened when I was working, and that was actually on that episode, or actually the little segment that was on Paranormal 911 that it was very blessed to be flown to Buffalo to be filmed for. It's called The Mist. Actually, it was over there we had the Eastern landfill, and so they have vent pipes for all the methane gases being that happens over there. So I thought this was a methane cloud coming down. It was hot as blue blazes. My patrol car at the time, it had the air conditioner went out. So I had 460 air conditioning. So I had four windows down, 60 miles an hour, that type of thing. And I always kept a wet cloth in with my lunchbox. And so it was within the next couple of days, it was going to go into the shop. You have to plan out, and you're basically put on the waiting list to get anything done. And I see this as it goes down, as I come up that road, because I'm going back to check on the eviction. Now they have it on the TV show as I was responding to an abandoned vehicle, but I'm out there. We're going to be doing eviction later on during that week, and I'm making the final attempt to make sure that they're out of the property. Well, make a long story short, this mist comes from my left side, and it comes in, and as I go into it, all of a sudden everything stops. And the last thing I heard was this time that was called out. It was about 6:30 or so, and this is in August, and so that everything goes completely out. All the radios, my cell phone, you hear it just go away, turn it off. The old flip phones, and everything goes dead. I drift, and you can still see daylight, but it's all foggy, and I'm trying to hold my breath. I don't know whether it's the methane or something that might have been one of the canisters over there at the Edgewood Arsenal that finally went off up there. They buried all these old munitions from World War One up there off of Gunpowder Road. And all of a sudden, it's like this mist kind of like comes in, and then everything looks like fingers touching on the inside, but it looked like raindrops. But everything gets touched, and you get this static charge. And it just went right through the car. And all of a sudden, it goes up the other side after it's touching everything. Everything. It happens so quick. Comes out the other side. And then there's a field that was to my right. That was going down towards Laurel Beach. Well, this mist goes up there and goes up. And then I remember everything came back on. It was clear as all, as you and I are talking right now. Then this mist dissipates. And a metallic taste in my mouth.
Mm.
When everything came back on the electronics, I remember hearing the dispatcher 10-4, and it was 1804 hours. Basically, I lost 34 minutes. I can't explain it. That was the weirdest experience I've ever had. Not saying it's UFO, but I want to know what the hell happened. And for a long time, I've kept that to myself, and that was another thing that somebody had brought up to me about it, and but it was very unique location to go to. I mean, I go by there even to this day, and still remember when the car, everything stopped, time stopped. 34 minutes I can't account for.
Well, I'll tell you what, back in 2001, when I was working for Ed Hale, doing private security for First Mariner Bank, the Baltimore Glass, Peterbilt, I can go on. That man owned a lot of stuff. But anyway, I worked for him, and I was in my patrol car one evening, and I felt tired, but I had gotten to sleep. So I go into dispatch, and I get my stuff, and I come out. I get in the car and I put it in drive and I go to the gate. I'll make a left turn. I remember the time, getting to the gate because I had to write it on my clipboard. And 3 hours later, I woke up pinned up against a parked tractor trailer. I hit the tractor trailer probably 80 miles an hour. The car was just folded. I'm not going to say a whole lot because I'm going to save it for my book. I'm writing a book. But anyway, it turned into an angelic, or I could see almost like UFO like type of incident. Let's just put it this way. I watched something change multiple colors and take off and go over the warehouse roof. And I was sitting in the middle of the road and I had tried desperately to get out of that car. But the way I crashed, it was impossible to open that door. But something opened that door and got me out. So that's going to be in my book, coming out the first of the year. And Mike Shango, he says, "Hi, guys."
Hey, Mike.
And then you can't forget your friend Richard Trueheart. Say hi to him.
And we still got to do one of your podcasts as well. I've been working these different shifts and all, so we definitely got to do something there too. I mean, Richard's he really is a cool guy.
What is this? Hi, Barry. Hi, Jim. Okay. Not sure why it came out like that, but that's what it says. Hi, Barry. Hi, Jim.
Hi there.
All right, let's take that off of there. All right, we're coming up on, let me get that down. We're coming up on 9 o'clock. I still want to talk some more paranormal with you. Fort Howard comes to mind. Did you ever do that?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I actually went down there on my own, down around the gun casemates and went back along the crew quarters that was there, because that was one of the parts of the defense of Baltimore during it's supposed to have been the impending invasion that they were thought that it was going to happen during the Spanish-American War, but actually, that goes back to the time with the War of 1812 and General Robert Ross, who was killed by two Baltimore County deputy sheriffs. Wells McComas and Henry McComas and Daniel Wells, which they are on that agency's patch, dedicating to the state. They were part of the state militia, and that's the only law enforcement patch in the world that's dedicated to a state militia. Believe it or not, that's a little factoid for a lot of people out there. But that whole area down there is incredibly active as well, and it goes back to the Native Americans that was there. You had the Tabasco Indians who were there. I mean, they were hunter gatherers that merged in with the Piscataway and the Cherokee nations. That was all through that area. It's just that whole peninsula down there. Battle Acres, another one that's a pretty reasonably active location as well. I mean, Todd's inheritance. Morris Todd actually knew. We went to the same barber, and he gave me one of his books that he wrote that actually had a picture of him as an infant in 1923. And God rest his soul, he's the last one buried in the Todd Cemetery. But he was living in Parkville at the time, and so I always heard about different stories and things of that nature, especially with the teacher that hung himself. That when he was in that house in there, which is documented, it is active. I mean, the whole property that's not the original house that was there when the War of 1812 broke out, because the original one was actually burned to the ground. But the Shaw House right up the road, where there's a small cemetery, where she escaped from the British soldiers that was on route to Baltimore, with Robert Ross. He got his comeuppance up there on by Old Battle Grove Road and Old North Point Road. So right there where the Kia Monument is today up there. But that's an incredibly active area. And for anybody who's just starting out with the paranormal and you want to test equipment in that, you can go to many of those locations down there. Even broad daylight, it's still active.
Right. Well, I'll tell you this. I interviewed a worker when they were renovating and doing work to the Todd house.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that he went out to his van to get a tool, and his boss called and told him to go ahead and take lunch early. He says, okay. Well, he said, I got something to take care of first, and then I'll come back out to the van and I'll eat. I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So he went back in, and this worker explained to me that he was a neat freak. So he said he wanted to gather all his tools, put them back in the bucket, then go out to the van and eat. So he did. Gathered all his tools up, put them in the bucket, went out to the van and ate. He said he didn't even take a full half hour for a lunch break. He said when he returned back into the house, all his tools were laid out on the floor. They weren't in the bucket like he had put them in the bucket before he went out to the van. So that was very interesting. I was like, wow. Now, I did get to go in there, but I didn't get to do an investigation. I did get to. Well, I did a little bit of EVP work while I was in there, and I took some photos, but I didn't get to do like a full investigation. Never got access. Like I had for Fort Howard. I had Fort Howard Hospital and Nursing Home for a full year. I don't. I don't know where you were at the time. I mean, I'd have took you in there, and oh my God, man!
That would have been one of the ones I wanted to get into. Is that's where the little lighthouses down there by the hospitals where General Robert Ross had landed. But there's been numerous encounters down there, and there's the commandant's quarters that's on the property,
Right.
many other places. I wanted to get into where the bowling alley was that they had there, and it's just just to see if they still have the power to generate, maybe go bowling one night, just to set the pins up and let them do it. Because we did that, and my group did it at the up in Manchester in Carroll County, the firehouse up there. They have restored bowling alley up there, and we actually had different things that took place there as well. But that whole area with Fort Howard, it has a lot of history. I've heard a lot of things about with the intercom system when there's no power running to it, but you hear things going on with it. And they're in the operating rooms and things of that nature, what they had down there over the years. The infirmaries that they had there, where you're hearing bedpans, you're hearing some moaning going on, different things that can't be explained, but there's nobody around for several hundred yards, from the residences that's outside of the property itself.
I had access to the houses that were on the property, the morgue, the recreation room, the nursing home. I had it all, the whole grounds. Now there were nights I had to share it with. They had SWAT teams come in and do training exercises. So when they would come in and start doing their thing, I had to make sure I was plenty far away from them, so they wouldn't interfere with me and I wouldn't interfere with them. So, but lots of good stuff from Fort Howard. Yeah, lots of good stuff. I'm trying to think of. Let's see. Brain fart.
Don't feel bad.
It happens when you get close to 60. My hard drive's not working as good as it used to. So
I'm about a year away myself, so I definitely understand that.
there you go. It's 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 like I've already been to hell and made it back. But I keep going every day, so I
Same
always
again.
try to stay active, and I'm just a person that never gives up what I enjoy doing. So, um, when I gave Ramblewood up, I said, okay, I got to talk to my buddy Eric Altman, and I got to. That's on my bucket list, so I want to do Bigfoot next, and that's what I've been doing since I left Ramblewood, and
Hmm.
I'm just trying to think of another good area that I had. I had so many places. If I don't have a list in front of me anymore, I can't remember it. A lot of interesting cases. I had got involved in this one case with a woman up off of Harvard Road that had a guy living there that was in the war and his head was messed up, and I figured it all out, and
Hmm.
I had to return her CDs and have her signed for them. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, Barry took the CDs and had her signed for him.
Oh, yeah. Especially when he used to hide in the closet, and he would wear a trash bag, come out there and rearrange the furniture and
Yes,
everything else.
Paranormal
I was
State,
part of another group that at that time
Chip
when
Coffee. Yeah,
prison, and Chip Coffee went in and called him out on it.
yeah.
That was episode of Paranormal State that they actually
Smoking
pointed out there,
Shadows.
and it was and uh, when you had vehicles on the property that was basically chock full. I mean, the vehicles hadn't moved in years. You remember the minivan that was on the property? It was chock full of whatnot, and everything was inside of it. The
Right,
house was kind of disheveled and things of that nature. I'm not going to mention any names. We don't do that,
right.
with our teams and that. When you have non-disclosure agreements, things like that.
Hmm.
But you go back, you can actually go back and watch that episode. It's up there on YouTube. But that case right there, she shopped around with a lot of teams. It was in the Baltimore area,
Yeah.
and so at that time I was helping out with another group, um, which we're mutual friends of at the time, and we went in there, and it's just like when we set the camera up, and all of a sudden, out of there, just like happened, go out there, you don't see me, and he goes back in the closet, which he didn't know. Remember, there was a hole that was on the other side of it, which went over into his bedroom,
Right.
and it was that right there. Let me tell you, that was for me. That you know, I understand. I know what there is, because it's basically like what happened with um, the first um, TV show I was on that was called The Haunted. Very similar kind of a thing that it went around. That was actually around the gin, but they tried to paint it. Well, actually, when it came out, it was like when um, Twilight, the vampire series, was dying out,
Hmm.
and back in 2011, and so that was a case of it is like we did numerous investigations, numerous house cleansings, full house exorcism, and still things got worse. And of course, they painted off that family lived happily ever after we whatever we got out of there.
Right.
It was very similar to that. There was a lot of different things that actually happened too. I mean, I'm not saying that there wasn't anything, because we did get some stuff that was rather odd, but they didn't put it into the show. But
Right.
even with this, I mean, that was clear case that they were tampering with things, creating a story, and they always look for a book deal. Well, hey, this is the next entity case, or next entity movie is going to come out, things like that. When you and I got into this and we started doing a lot of this, we weren't doing this to be on a television show or to
Right.
be in a movie or wherever it is like that. Things tend to happen. It falls into your lap a little bit. But
Right.
don't go out there. I mean, there's things that happen. Don't go out there and try to make this thing more than what it already is. And
Right.
but yeah, that case there, that was very, very, um, disturbing, to say the least.
Yes, very much so. I was glad when I got, I just, I got to the point and I said, the group, some of the group members weren't sure, and I was like, trust me.
Oh, absolutely.
Trust me. I mean, just look at most of the details. I mean, saw blades stuck in the sheetrock, copper wiring ripped out, and you can see, like Mike Shango told me that copper wiring was ripped out, and you could see the teeth marks from the what do they call them?
Sawzall,
No, the
reciprocating saw.
channel locks.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the lines, in the
Mm-hmm.
copper wire and stuff like that. And,
Mm-hmm.
him coming out, like you said, with something over his head, and there was just a lot, that I pretty much figured out, and I'm like, no, we got to get out of this.
Well, there's no doubt the guy that he was a Vietnam War vet that had and it's in a TV show, so it's no secret. He had a brain tumor, and so things happen. I mean, could he been influenced to doing that? Yeah, possibly. But also, when you've been a caregiver for somebody who's had those types of issues, I mean, they can go to any kind of a thing about oh yes, they're saying Dave, tell Jim about the chair, the one that they turn upside down all the time.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he's referring to Fort Howard.
Oh,
When he had his tripod and camcorder set up. If I'm wrong, Mike, let me know. I do know that in that house off of Hartford Road, she was building pyramids out of household items and stuff like that, where it would stack up. And
there was some very, very unique stuff that she had. I'll put it that way.
Okay, so Mike said, yep. So he's referring to Fort Howard. We had an incident where he set up his camera on a tripod, and something moved the chair and then shook his and turned it off. So that was one of the floors at Fort Howard. Now, a lot of the EVPs we got from there were very nasty. You know what they used to do to people in Fort Howard? The what do they call it? Their brains and experimented. I can't think of the right word for it, but most of the EVP work that we got out of there was very bad, very nasty. One of my members, Chris, had said, "I'm going to move this chair because it's in the way." And on the recorder, it said, "Don't touch it. F. Jesus Christ." And we were always getting very negative EVPs. We didn't even have, sometimes we didn't even have to ask a question. We would just have a recorder running and it would pick up comments, like the one I just told you.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. That place, now me, Gary French, and Tim Manvell, were sitting in a hallway on chairs. And Gary was drinking a soda, and he took his cap and he flicked it. And it went down the hallway towards the left side, about maybe 20 feet or maybe 15 feet. And the soda cap come back at us. So I believe it was Tim that had some M&Ms. And between him and Gary, they started chucking them. And the M&Ms were coming back.
Uh-huh.
But we had a video camera going and didn't get anything. But yeah, a lot of weird stuff from Fort Howard.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any hospital or any type of even old forts, any type of installations, anything that has to do with like a lot of the war veterans. I mean, it's active as all get go. Right down the street from me, both my parents worked there. Spring Grove State Hospital, as you well know, it's the second oldest continuously operating psychiatric hospital in the United States. It's still active. That right there has got. I can't tell you because we don't have the time here, but the stuff that happened down there is incredible, and the interactions. I mean, there's so much pent up stuff that goes on inside these buildings. They're made out of granite. They're made out of limestone. Catonsville itself is inundated with artesian wells and natural springs. This is where Seven Up Bottling Company started. This is where Frosty Root Beer started, right down the street from me. This is right about a block from me is where John Wilkes Booth was baptized. So I mean, you got a lot of things going on in this area here, and but you have over there on the east side of Baltimore as well, and but like I said, that right there with that much pent up energy to be able to physically move that back, this goes back a long way. I mean, it's not just something that happened 50 years ago. It's going back even further.
Well, Jim, look, take some notes, and because I'd like to have you back again, and we'll talk some more paranormal and some of the places that you didn't get to mention. We'll talk about it, and let's see, we're at 156. So, anybody have any questions? Okay, Mike said so. Okay, I'm sorry, it wasn't wires ripped. It was channel locks, copper pipes. Okay, the copper pipes were ripped from the wall and had the teeth mark on. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll bring you back again, and
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll talk some more paranormal. So in the meantime, just take some notes and what you'd like to talk about the next time, and we'll do it. So
be great to do it, man. I mean, I'm always here, man. I mean, I want to thank you for inviting me on and having me on, and you just kind of like touch base on a myriad of different things that we have interest in, and also sharing with the listeners and the viewers.
Exactly. All right. So yeah, I want to thank you for being our guest tonight, and talking about investigations, the paranormal, and all right. Let's see. Here we go. Great to see you, Bigg Jim.
Yep, great seeing you, big guys. I mean, with my new profile, it's been the platform back in December of 2021. Yeah, this is my new profile here, and I couldn't put up the 2G Bigg Jim, and that's a whole nother story for another time how I got that name. So,
okay,
but I really appreciate you having me on, man. It's an honor. Thank you.
Yeah. So, if someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to contact you?
The best way to contact you can go. Matter of fact, I started it today. It's the Paranormal Research and Investigation Society of Maryland /Prismed, PRISMD. That's the new Facebook page. Our old one is still up. I don't have control of it, so that's where I created the second one. You can contact me through there. You can contact me through Facebook with Bigg Jim Jones with 1G. I just started Realster, which is America's version of TikTok, which is based out of Pittsburgh. And I just started that up last week. I do a podcast over on Wimkin, political in nature, and it's not for the faint of heart, I can tell you. Then I'm on many other platforms, Gab, Getter, Truth Social, many others. I'm definitely on many of those other platforms, but I mostly use Facebook and Wimkin and a few others. But if you type in Bigg Jim Jones with 2 G's, you'll come across something there. Except for Facebook, of course, they got rid of my Prism Jim Jones and then the Bigg Jim Jones. I mean, been on since 2008. I still even have my profile over there on MySpace. I never got rid of it. So that goes back a ways. So, but yeah, you can contact me or you can email me. I can send you my email address. Right now, we're reworking the prison website, www.prismd.net. We're going to try to get that back up before too long, but we have a thing through webs.com, which you can go in there and type in prison, and it'll come up there on that. But like I say, underneath of this broadcast, what I can do is I can actually put in some other information. People can go up there and click on that and reach out to me there.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, anytime you have something you want to promote or you want to get word out, just go to the Bigfoot Paranormal Encounters podcast and just put it on there.
I certainly will. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Jim, I want to thank you again for being on. And it was great talking with you and seeing you again. I'm going to send me your address. I'll send you my home address.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to send you something in the mail, something I'm going to be doing in July. I'll keep it right now. I'll keep it as a little surprise, but we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And I hope everything works out with post-surgery, and hope you get it for a speedy recovery, bud.
Yeah, I got to go back and a few more times, and hopefully I won't have to get it done anymore. But I'll definitely have to get another MRI done and see if it fixed it. I had a what they call chronic sinus infection on the right side, and it just wouldn't go away. They treated it with a number of antibiotics, even the strongest one. And when the strongest one wouldn't work, they said, well, the next step is to go in there and do surgery. So was I scared? Yeah, because I'm not a person that likes to be put under all, Twilight, I can deal with that, but being put under, Jim, I've had friends that went in for simple operations and never came back out. So,
I know. I lost a good friend several years ago that basically was went in, supposed to head. I'm not going to mention that because they'll be shadow banned on Facebook. But I'll put it to you this way: she didn't make it out, and that hospital in the Baltimore area is going to is being sued because. So, but yeah, I'm one of not for doctors myself. I mean, I had an implant put in my jaw, and I had to have it. Had to actually the last part done last week, and so I got another one I had to go through, which somebody took an elbow down her armco way on me. Did this side, so that was a whole nother issue. So that's going to be further out. That part when they go in there with the Craftsman ratchet, start putting the implant in. Oh, that's fun. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, really.
So, but
all right. So again, I want to thank you for being our guest tonight, and Jim, stay in touch.
Like I definitely will. Good speaking with you again.
Yes, send me your home address. I'm going to send you mine tonight. Thanks again, and everyone, thanks for listening in and joining with myself and Bigg.
There you go.
Yeah, he's the man. All right, Jim, you take care and have a good night, and stay in touch.
Thank you, and God bless.
You too.
Take care.
From the Northwest to the Everglades, from the Southwest up to Maine. Even though he's seldom seen, everybody knows his name. Through the forests and the backwoods, folks are looking night and day, hoping for a chance to see old Bigfoot USA. big, bad, and hairy, hangs out in the woods. No doubt he'd be scary in any neighborhood. He's the best there is at staying hid, but we're gonna find him anyway. Maybe then we can document old Bigfoot USA. He leaves tracks, scat, man, if that ain't evidence, how about hair? Banging on trees and midnight screams don't sound like no bear. Got an appetite, keeps him up all night, so he likes to chill all day. But he'll be around when the sun goes down. He's Bigfoot USA. Ain't no man ever been that fast. No man will ever be that strong. Ain't no way you're gonna whip his, so you might as well get along. He's got more names than anyone in any record book, they say. Right or wrong, they all belong to old Bigfoot USA. They call him Bigfoot, wild man, Sasquatch, stick man, cattle critter, woolly booger, mossy man, and flint man. Brush ape, skunk ape, night ape, swamp ape, grass man, wood man, gray man, and hairy man. Dog man, otter man, lizard man, raggedy man, wendigo, Seattle, Sonoqua, bush man. Wood devil, mountain devil, goat man, stone man, forest devil, big man, timber giant, brush man, ice giant, devil, monkey, boogie man, and cave monster, yellow top, skookum, and nook nook. Swamp monster, night screamer, evil seeker, catamount, Fort Worth monster, Minnesota Iceman. Stone coat, missing link, ape man, char man, big figure, stone giant, Missouri monster, elk monster, yay ho, Honey Island swamp monster, no head, no neck, tall man, boggy mountain. Night people, stick, Indian, hairy, savage, owl woman, gamekeeper, slider cat, bad smelling tree, hill monkey.